Hi there. Welcome once again to Shorty on the Fly. I have had a request from one of my subscribers to demonstrate how to tie a woolly bugger. And although there are probably 7,815 videos of a woolly bugger out there, I'm here to oblige. So here is my version of the woolly bugger. This is the one that I carry in my vest most of the time. I'm starting out with a size 8 streamer hook on which I have pinched the barb. And to begin, I'm going to use some wire. It's, I don't know if you can see that, 020 lead wire. I just usually keep the spool in my hand and wrap. And I'm going to take 20 wraps of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And I'm just going to use my fingernail to snap that off and snap the rear off as well, and then shove those all together. I'm leaving some space up here at the front, and we're doing that because we want to have a place on which to work when we get toward the end of the fly. And then I'm using black 6/0 Danville thread. Just going to get started there and wrap over the wire and then back up. You can throw some super glue on that if you want. I don't usually do that. The wraps are usually sufficient to keep everything in place. But now you see this little bump that we have here. We're going to deal with that. I'm going to make some wraps forward and back up to it to create a little taper so that that bump is not there when we go to wrap our body. Okay, I want a nice, gentle taper, and it's important that you take this step, otherwise you'll have that bump and your fly will look funky. There, now we've dealt with that. So now I'm going to run the thread back to the bend of the hook, just in front of the bend, and we're going to put our tail on. And for that, I'm using an olive marabou feather, and we want to measure that to be about the length of the shank of the hook. Okay, set that on, keep it right on top, use a pinch wrap to secure it. Okay, take a couple wraps just to get everything in place the way we want it, and then come in and trim that off of there. Now take a couple of wraps just to tidy that up, and you see what I've done is we've made this even all the way across the whole body of the fly by leaving that little gap in there and tying the feather in at that point. Okay, so now I like to put a little crystal flash on here. So I've got 2 strands of crystal flash, and I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap that on top of the hook, run it back to where the tail is, and then take these other 2 and capture them. Okay, at this point, just come in with your scissors and trim those off to be the length of the tail. That little bit of flash, I think, does help. And now I'm going to tie in some gold wire. It's fine gold wire. You've seen me, I've used this spool forever, and it doesn't seem to be getting any smaller. So we're going to be using this wire for a while. I'm going to tie this in, and this is where, you know, some people do this, some people don't, because that's going to be what holds my hackle onto the fly later on. And I like to use this variegated chenille. It's got little kind of like gray and black in it. You can use whatever. If you've got just a dark chenille or olive or whatever, you can use, but I like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and just strip away the bottom part of this. So we expose those little threads, and that's what's going to get tied in. Okay? Keeps there from being a lot of bulk at the back end of the fly. So I'm going to run up, and I'm leaving like 2 eye lengths in back there for where I'm going to tie off. And now we're going to go ahead and wrap that chenille right up, touching turns right up the hook. And I've got a pretty significant length here. It's probably 5 inches, but you have to have something to hang on to. So, you know, I don't want to get up here and not have enough to work with to hang on to it. And that's where I'm going to tie off, right there. Because I want to have a good place on which to tie in my hackle and create a head on the front of the fly. Okay. Now I'm using an olive hackle here, and you want a saddle. I like the saddles because they have this, you want that like Christmas tree shape. We're going to come in and take the fluffy stuff off the bottom. And then tie that in right at the front of the hook. All right. And now I'm going to take like 2 or 3 wraps right here because I want to have a decent head. And then I'm going to start wrapping back. I got like 6 wraps in there. Now at this point, grab a hold of the hackle with your left hand and get a hold of the wire with your right. Make a wrap, and we trapped it. And now what I want to do is just keep wrapping in between. This can be kind of tricky. In between the spaces that are left by the hackle getting wrapped back there. And I wrap in the same direction I wrap the thread. Nobody's ever convinced me that counter wrapping makes a fly any more durable than doing it this way. And by doing it this way, you reduce the chances of trapping hackles and having it look funky on you. So I'm taking like 4 or 5 wraps there, and then I'm just going to helicopter that off, and I'm going to come in and trim the back of the hackle off. We're almost done. Now what I like to do is kind of reach in and pull the hackles back, and then just start wrapping back. Take nice, easy, even turns right next to each other, and you're going to be able to create a little bit of a head and sweep those hackles back and out of the way. And we got plenty of room for that. There we go. Now come on in and whip finish. I'm doing 2 sets of whip finishes, and that'll usually hold everything in place. And there we have it. That's one regulation woolly bugger. As with so many of these things, you know, you can vary the color of the hackle, of the body, of, you know, the tail. You can mix and match. These pretty much work everywhere, every time. So there you are. There is my version of a woolly bugger. I hope it's been helpful to you. As always, we love hearing from you. Like or subscribe, and I bid you peace.